project, or it's like we're decrypting something all of a
We are.
sudden.
We're being deconstructed and constructed in the
I
Matrix. If
really thought you said something
if I
else
could
just now. I was
talk,
like,
if I could talk.
what the
Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming in on a very very serious conversation. I am
yeah,
T. This is B. Thank y'all for joining us again. So another wonderful Sunday to talk about some great stories of, around the sports world this past week. Let's hop into it. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good. Saw some good games. Saw some not that great games. B, how was your week, man? How you doing?
man, just another day. Well, I'm not gonna say another day in paradise because I'm not living there no more. But it's been good, man. It's been good. The sports world has given us more to talk about. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Absolutely. We want to start. Let's start with. I guess we still got a game with the Warriors going on. So if you want, B, what we could do is we could shoot down to the. And by the way, folks, for those who do not know, the Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks are in the fourth quarter. Just began with the Warriors up by 8. Warriors looking to close it out at this point. I mean, they 2-0, they get 3-0. This is gonna be over real quick. So
No, both of our predictions look bad
yeah,
here.
yeah. You had 5. I had 6. They might do it in 4.
I mean, there's still a lot. There's still the whole fourth quarter,
Yeah, true that. True
but
that.
it's really not looking too pretty. The Warriors will start messing with them at some point, somehow, some way.
Absolutely. So let's push. Let's push into the next. Push into the next game here. Oh,
Oh, you there with me,
look like I lost
Tosh?
him. Come back to me.
Oh,
Yep. Yep.
we here?
Yep. Can
Hello?
you hear me? You hear me?
Well, another to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Somehow when you popped out, man, your video got kind of wonky. So I'm working on that right now.
Oh,
But yeah, cool, man. Welcome back, B. Thank you for being flushed down the toilet for a few seconds. Glad to have you back. Um, but I want to press forward to let's talk about the other game, the Heat. While the Warriors are playing, let's talk about the Heat and the Celtics. They will be playing again tomorrow. The game last night was kind of up and down, where we saw a Heat team that was really putting it on them. And I was really surprised to see that after the Celtics that came out so hot in game 2, to then have them turn around and just completely not even show up the first half of that entire game. It was a little disappointing, man.
yeah,
I thought they were an effort team. What was that crap? What was that about?
but that's a good question. We're seeing a lot of inconsistency from the Celtics team here because they show up for one game and then they show up the next game and throw an absolute stinker on the court here. And it's the problem is it's running its time now. I think what no one really talks about is how consistent the Miami Heat have been all playoff series. Like no one's really talked about it because of because of the teams that are left in it here. But when you really look at it, they've been pretty consistent all this time
Yeah,
here. So
absolutely.
yeah, the Celtics got to find a way. They got to get this together shortly here before it becomes a little too late here. So they've got a big game, and Jason Tatum, this is your time to shine,
Yeah,
man. You gotta you gotta sit here and really get going here. Like you're running out of options. Consistency from you, Jason Tatum. You've got your support. Everyone is back now. You need to step up and really start putting the pedal to the floor here. You've got to average almost 30 a
yeah,
game now to give your team a shot to win here. That's just my personal opinion there because he's right there. He's not pushing himself past that point
yeah.
yet.
And I think the game 2 they really came out and just put it to the Heat. I mean they came out and they were killing them in every facet of the game. So like I said, my disappointment was that and maybe it's just because they're a younger team, but they played against some good teams in these playoffs. Mainly the Bucks, and so for them to come out in that next game and be so flat. I mean, I thought if they would have come out with any amount of like a 10% of the intensity that they had in the second game, in the third game, in the first half or first quarter, they would have put themselves an opportunity to win that game because they had a chance to win. They were down by 4 points, or I believe it was only 1 point at one point. Late in the fourth quarter, I believe, right around the 2 minute mark. So I mean, they were in the game, like they had a chance to win this game, and I think it reminds me of the game that they played against Milwaukee. I don't remember if it was it game 3 or game 2, where they had the entire game won until the fourth quarter. Milwaukee went on this huge run and they just couldn't do anything about it. They end up losing that game. And I feel like
That was game.
that was game three.
Yeah, that was game three that they had that because they won
Yeah.
game two and then they went Milwaukee and had the lead for all game until like you said, those last 2 minutes
So
there.
I feel like this is kind of the backwards version of that. They came out really flat, and the other team then they tried to come back, but they just didn't have enough to put it away. And I was kind of, I want to see the Celtics move on because I really feel like the Heat, especially without Kyle Lowry, if he's not going to be fully, healthy, is not going to have a chance against the Warriors. And I really want to see a good finals. I don't want to see, Jimmy Butler was out, Kyle Lowry's out. Like I don't want to see another, another Kawhi Leonard championship, Raptors championship final series. I don't want to see that. I want to see two teams at
Yeah.
full strength. So even though I don't want to, I'm kind of pushing for the Celtics a little bit. And I want to point out one play though, as a probably from a coaching perspective, I'm sure Ume Udoka was losing his mind. They fought themselves all the way back in the game and cut the lead to one. And then your boy, who we talked about, Tatum, they had a play where Tatum got caught in an out of bounds play going underneath the screen on Max Strauss, who knocked down the three to push it from 1 to 4 with about less than 2 minutes to go. And I think that kind of, from there, it just kind of went downhill. And I think that kind of speaks to
Yeah.
what you were talking about these guys being younger and having to be attentive and have that same mentality the entire game by being aggressive. And I think Tatum has been lacking some of that aggressiveness. And that aggressiveness as for players, when you play the game of basketball, especially when you're talking about Jaylen Brown and well, any of the guys on the Celtics team, really, they're all really fairly good two-way players. So
Yeah.
Tatum has to really bring up the energy level overall, and I think we should see that in the next game. I think the Celtics will win the next game, but they really need to work on being. They got to be consistent going forward, man, because they can't sleep on Miami. Miami was able to beat them without Jimmy Butler in this last game, and it just looked like the Celtics came out, thinking that they had done something special in the previous game. So hopefully they need to get together.
Yeah, and I mean, the inconsistency worked. It got them through Milwaukee, but this isn't going to get them through the Heat. I mean, they're the number one team for a reason, but at the same time, it's like, look, they could easily be up 2-1 in this series, um,
Right.
real quickly here. But I think they're just throwing games away, and your inconsistent play from your stars is not really helping here. And we've talked about it all playoffs is
Yeah.
experience. And when you look at it, the only team that's get left with the experience that's made it
Yeah,
this
we know.
far is the team on TV
Yeah.
right now, which is the Golden State
Right.
Warriors, and they're showing it. Dallas hasn't been in this position for years since the Dirk Nowitzki
Yeah.
championship. That was the last time that they were even considered in this. So all the players on Dallas are new to this. All the players on Boston I'd say the Heat probably come close. They have just about the same team they had in the bubble when it came to the
Yeah.
NBA Finals. So they are a close second. But when you talk about true depth and been through every single game possible, it's the
Yeah.
Warriors. And you still got to win games, but that experience is really showing why the Warriors are in the position they are now compared to the other teams that are
Yeah,
in it here.
and
So
in fairness, the
uh,
Celtics made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Kyrie-less group. They've had some success, but again, this is being a number 2 seed and being top dog, just like we talked about with the Memphis Grizzlies and John Morant. This is just it's a little bit of unknown territory. You're not the underdog anymore. You have to play your game and be consistent. The other team's not going to sleep on you. They're going to expect you to be good.
exactly here. So we'll see how this plays out forward for them. Tomorrow will be. I think if the Celtics lose the series, is over in 5. Like I don't see it coming back
Yeah.
from Miami after that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's going to be back and forward. I think it's going to be back and forward. It's going to. I think the Celtics will win this next game, and then we'll see what happens after that. Because ultimately, they're kind of going shot for shot. There's nothing Miami has done that makes me think that the Celtics can't win. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like when I watch these games, I'm thinking, oh man, Celtics are so outmatched. It's like, no, they were in the game and only down by 1 after being down by, almost 20 something points earlier in the game. So
mhm.
so I think the Celtics will win the next game, and then we'll see if they can take that same energy into the next game and put some pressure on them. Go up 3-2. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
There is a big deciding factor player in this series, and we don't talk about it as often because he's only talking to them in the pregame huddle and trying to fight his other teammates. But that's Haslam. Like how did the Heat allow a senior citizen like this to stay on the roster where they could open that up to another player potentially?
I'm,
What is Haslam doing that brings value to this team right now? It's almost like Andre
yeah,
Iguodala uh, with the
Jared
Warriors right
Jared
now.
Dudley.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
man, Dudley. God, that guy was a joke.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, man, I just Haslam has seen. He's been around for 3 championships now,
yeah. And
and he's barely played. Like, what the hell is he doing that has gotten him
I
this
mean,
contract?
honestly, it's because of his loyalty to the Heat, and he's a guy that's loved around the local area there, and amongst all Heat fans. But he honestly should be an assistant coach. I mean, that's what he should be doing at this stage in his career. And I'm not sure why they don't
Mhm.
just go ahead and just say, "Hey, look, it's time for you to retire. We need the roster spot. You're not playing any minutes, but you have been useful to our team. So we want to bring you on as a assistant coach and have you work with our guys." That's it. I mean, I think that's the way for them to kind of deal with Haslam. I don't know. I don't know why they want to give him a contract and have him put on a jersey and tennis shoes and all this stuff. I mean, the dude's not sweating. I mean, he don't need a towel. He don't need no Gatorade. Like it's cool, man. Just put on a suit, or they don't even wear suits anymore. Put on a jumpsuit, Nike jumpsuit, and sit on the sideline with everybody else.
Bro, he's like the OG at the basketball court. You know he's not gonna play. You know he's not gonna get some run, but he's gonna be there in the layup line, shooting
Right.
around until the games kick off, and then he's just kind of kicking off,
That's
motivating his
right.
team.
He's
You
gonna
know,
get one
and
putback, one rebound, one putback. That's it.
it did. And Haslam don't even see the court when it's garbage time. Like that's even the worst part. Like you figured players when it's a blowout, at least some guys get some run to keep their legs fresh and get that game
Right.
feel. But Haslam doesn't even enter the game when there's garbage time. Like that's when you know it's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Just give up the spot. Give it up.
The milk's expired. Throw it out. It's over.
That shit's been back since 2011, man. Oh wait, what was it?
20,
2013.
yeah.
When 2013, that milk has been expired since. So he has taken the NBA's money for 9 years.
Yeah, that's yeah. He's getting
Flies.
close to Nathan Peterman territory. He's getting close.
That's the boy. That's
He's
the
getting close.
boy.
He's close. Um, well, B, I think I had if you remind me, I had the Celtics in 6, and I think you had them in 5. Am I right, or did you have them in 6?
Yeah. Oh, actually, you have the Celtics in
Thank you.
7. I've got the Celtics in 6. And Doug Hughes, if you're watching, you have the Celtics in 6 as well. So, the Celtics don't make me look bad. Come on.
They'll get it done. I think they'll get it done, man. It's just a little inconsistency, but they'll come back strong in the next game. And we don't even know if Kyle Lowry's going to play. So Jimmy
Yeah,
Butler's injured, but they're saying his injury's not that bad. So I don't know who the starting lineup for the Heat is going to be at this point.
I think Tyler Hero's probably going to end up on the court
Yeah,
at this point now to start for them. You can't have him come off the bench, especially when you don't know if what condition Jimmy Butler's a dog, so I don't expect him to be sitting out for
no,
too long. Um, Especially after the performance he gave during the bubble when he gave it everything he could, and he looked
yeah, he
exhausted.
was. Yeah,
Um, as that series went on here, but he's going to be on the court. I think you can substitute Lowry with Tyler Hero um, to get away with it for the time being here. But it's just who knows with that team here. I can't tell you,
yeah.
America. It's a little difficult.
Well, let's check. I'll check in
But
on the game before we jump into it. It looks like it's a close game now. So now it's 89-83, 6-point lead for the Golden State Warriors with about 7 minutes to play in the game. So the Warriors, and maybe while this is going on, we could talk a little bit about what we talked about the Celtics, what they did, but what the hell were the Warriors doing the first 3 quarters of that game? In that previous, I mean,
Oh, they were just goofing off. Dude, I don't know, man. It's so hard to tell because they turn it on when they want to turn it on. And it's like, as a Warrior fan, like, again, I'm used to this by now.
yeah,
Like, stop fucking around. Just end it when you
yeah,
can. But honestly, sometimes people are right. They look like they just toying with you until they go, okay, now we're gonna turn the jets on and blow you out of
yeah,
the water because they haven't shot well for 3 games in this series, and this is including tonight as
yeah,
well. You're having unbelievable performance from Curry right now, who's 28. Um, but Dallas could easily have won that game
yeah,
too. They blew a 19 lead easily. But we've talked about this before here. Um, that it's just you trying to outshoot a team that's known for
yeah.
shooting here, and it's like you're not gonna win. You're not gonna win doing that. Dinwiddie, Luka, and a handful of players, they can all get hot, but you're not going to get Warrior hot, and that's the
Yeah.
difference. There is the Warriors put it on you, and they put it on you quick.
So Andrew
Um,
Wiggins just jumped from the dotted circle and smashed all over Beatrins or Beltrins, whatever his name is.
I
He got
love it.
dunked on
I
very hard
love.
there. That was quite the play, I must say. He took off, floated. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was Luka Doncic coming over to try to make a block on a dunk. What is this guy? And he got completely obliterated. And oh
Dan,
my goodness. And the refs have decided to give the bucket away and called an offensive foul on Andrew Wiggins. So never mind.
the refs have stepped into this game so many
Never
times.
mind. I take it back. My bad.
Just saying that. Danny, thanks for joining the live chat here, man. I appreciate it. He wants to know, can we discuss the downhill spiral of the Giants? There's not much to discuss, man. Their pitching is terrible. Their offense is lackluster for the most part. They were hot to start the season, and all of a sudden they just kind of fell apart here. Um, just to kind of touch base on it, they were talking about potentially Aaron Judge getting a big contract from the Giants here. There was Juan Soto from the Washington Nationals being talked about for trade, but the team hasn't been healthy. They have been dealing with COVID. Um, that pitching staff is it's not turning out what it needs to be. Sorry to change it up on
Oh,
you,
it's
Taj
okay.
Mahal,
No,
from
it's all right.
from
I'm still
baseball
here.
to basketball.
I'm still here.
To baseball here, but yeah, man, it's I hope they're not far out of the first place spot either. The Dodgers aren't playing good baseball right now. The Padres are turning it on right now. They just swept the Giants, if I remember correctly. But other than that, I think the Giants will find a way to get it turned around. They just got to start hitting. Like, in the pitching staff, that bullpen needs to get figured out as well, dude. These guys are just giving up runs left and right. Me and you, Taj Mahal, can go into a major league game for the Giants and pitch and probably do pretty well right now. That's how bad that shit
Oh
is over
yeah, I'm
there.
I'm gonna kill him with
Um,
my 55 mile an hour fastball. I'm ready.
and the Giants in
It's like-
a week have had 2 position players pitch for them,
oh damn.
outside of a pitcher, because they get blown out of these games so goddamn bad, man. They had a left-handed outfielder go in there twice and pitch for them. And so I was like, Jesus Christ, man, this shit is just getting
I'm
bad
telling you,
here.
man.
But Dan, thanks for the shout out, man. Hope you're doing well. Can't wait to ball with you in Utah, and also on Wednesday nights as well, man. Looking forward to it. Taj, there was something I wanted to bring up here since we're on the topic of baseball here. We can talk about this
Yeah.
one. Um, Earlier Saturday, I think it was Saturday here, Josh Donaldson called Tim Anderson Jackie, and this sparked a whole bunch of drama here to the point where the bench is cleared. No, no, there was no fighting. Baseball players don't fight no more. They just,
Standoff. Yeah.
they all like to congregate
Yeah,
in
it's
one
a sta-
section, kind of
it's a
push each
standoff,
other
yeah.
around. There hasn't been a real good fight since Rudin Odor. You need to look this video up, but Rudin Odor hit John Bautista with a right hand that staggered him, dude. He caught him flush. That's one of the best baseball fights I had seen in a long time here. But just to get back on track here, so Josh Donaldson called Tim Anderson Jackie. Now, Tim Anderson is an African American baseball player. In 2019, he went on a report saying that he was going to be the Jackie Robinson of today, bringing the fun back of baseball here. Supposedly, Josh Donaldson had been joking around, calling him Jackie
Okay.
beforehand. And then all of a sudden, now it's a problem. Um, Yesterday, he said it in the first inning, he let it go. And then I guess a few innings later, he said it again. And that's when it sparked everything from the benches clearing and everyone saying, "Yo, mama's kid cooking sucks," and all this and
What?
that. So
Okay.
my here's I want to get your
Yeah.
take on this. Is I'm going to give you this guy's history on Josh Donaldson doesn't have a history of having any racial slurs attached to him here. When you hear something like that, when a guy proclaims himself as being the Jackie Robinson of
Hmm.
today, when you hear a story like this, what does it mean to your eyes? What is your opinion on something like
Well,
that? There, of hearing something like that from a white ball player to an African American ball
yeah.
player.
So I mean, just off top, I mean, we'll start with talking about bigger than life players and then comparing them to people is always a mistake. So no one can say, "Oh, I'm the next Muhammad Ali," and when they say it, it's going to sound disingenuous because that character, that person is larger than life. Like they're a person that's bigger than the game itself, right? And I think Jackie Robinson's the same thing. So, one, don't compare yourself to people like that because it's not going to go well. And most times we should take time. And there's nothing wrong with emulating people that are great. I mean, that only makes sense. But people like that are to be revered. They're legends. Leave it at that. You can aspire to be them. But I think all it did was maybe put a little bit of a target on his back. And then from the perspective of the other player, I mean I mean there is a level of sensitivity around subjects whenever there are white players that will make comments about that, especially when there's some type of element of race involved. So even if the intention of the player was maybe just to poke at him a little bit because oh, this because this guy, he's just talking too much, he's not that great, or whatever the case may be. I think we're in a climate to where you have to understand who you're talking to and what you're saying. So it's not so much maybe the intention of the other guy was not to necessarily make a racially charged joke or a racially charged comment towards towards Donaldson, but at the end of the day, the element in the conversations that we have and the situation that we're in and the era that we're in right now means that you have to understand that what you say will be taken in apart and it's going to be criticized, and that goes for many different topics. It's not just it's definitely going to be around race because that's the easy one, but there are going to be other things that players are going
Mhm.
to say or players are going to do, and whenever you're in the public eye, I think that's just what it's going to be. Now, again, maybe his intentions were maybe even not to be that, but honestly, if you're going to come in and you're going to kind of poke at the guy and say, "Oh yeah, whatever, Jackie," you're trying to jab him, and I completely understand that. But once it gets outside of just you and that person, then it's for the entire public to make a story out of, and you might end up on the bad end of the
Yeah,
stick. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. So
yeah, and that's where it's coming to
yeah,
now. You have the manager of the White Sox saying it was a racist
yeah,
comment. Tim Anderson didn't like it as much, and now there's further reports more that Tim Anderson and Josh Donaldson ain't getting along.
yeah.
And when you don't get along with someone, the last thing you want to do is joke with that person because, and quite honestly, they're not looking at it as a joke.
Right. Correct. Correct.
They're
Correct.
looking at it as that racial as slur that as you were referring to there. Um, and that's the thing is if you don't have good reputation with someone like that, I mean, it's still wrong in any aspect, but in my eyes, I didn't see it as a racial slur to him. I just more thought like, hey, from what I'm hearing, you guys are friends. He's taking a jab at him. We all take jabs at our friends and
Yeah.
whatnot. But apparently Tim Anderson ain't friends with you, man.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where everything boiled over. Now Josh Donaldson did do the right thing. He did come out. He blatantly admitted to it. He goes, "Yeah, I called him Jackie in the first inning, but it wasn't his intentions to be at a racial
Yeah.
standpoint there. This was all for stemming from what he had described in 2019." So this is where the media gets involved because they're hearing every different story that you're getting, and then they're going to use those words, and in the eye of America now, it gets twisted, it gets manipulated in certain ways. he's gone out and he offered to talk to Tim Anderson and to make sure we're all on the same page here, to apologize as needed here for what he has said. But it's just hard to sit there and really claim a guy to be racist when he has no
Yeah,
background of
well,
it.
I mean, I think what it
Like,
comes down to is sometimes it's just good to call a person an asshole. You know,
yeah,
all he had to
absolutely,
do was call him anything else. I mean, nobody would have cared, right? And so that's why
yeah,
sometimes when you get caught in these situations, because the words of choice you use and not sort of understanding your surroundings, right? And that's why it rather, like I said, rather his intentions were that or not. If he had to looked at him and he had to said, "Look, you're crap, you're full of shit, whatever, blah blah blah," and just the normal back and forward between somebody you and somebody you don't like, nobody would have cared. It wouldn't have been a big deal. Okay. But if you're going to use different words, if you're going to in a public space perpetuate something or say something, you have to be prepared for the blowback. And so that these are some of the things that happen in the public eye. Now, me and you, we're not in the public arena, but at the same time, we know that there are certain things you have to be careful about saying, right? I mean, so that's something for him to figure out, and maybe it's unfortunate that he has to go through this, but at the end of the day, you have to understand what you're saying. You have to understand the climate that you're in. You're a public figure, whether you choose to be or not. You open your mouth, say something, somebody takes offense to it, then they're offended. For like, whether I have the intention or not, if I offend somebody and they're offended, then unfortunately that's all that matters, right? You know what I mean? Like if the person's offended, then they're offended. So that's on him. You got to come back. You gotta do what everybody else does. That finds that every other white athlete that's ever done this and found themselves in a tough spot, go back and apologize. Tell folks what your true intentions were, and try to make sure that you're cool going forward. That's all you can do, man.
yeah, agree. So, that was the really big topic for baseball here. I was surprised that was even discussed here. But hey, you go ahead and lead on to the next topic. My laptop is about to die right now. This is yeah,
Oh my god, this
I
guy's
plugged
over
it in.
here, but you
I
but technical
plugged it in, so hold on 1 second.
technical
Go ahead
difficulties.
and give everyone an update on the Warrior
All right,
game
so
there.
let's jump back into the Warriors game. It looks like the Warriors are on their way to a win. However, there's still 4 minutes left. But the Warriors are up by 12 points with about 4 minutes to go. Guy Andrew Wing is stepping up to the line, about to knock down a couple of free throws, or not. Maybe we'll see. So while I wait on my compadre, we're kind of gonna take some time to cover a few other topics before we jump back into the Warriors game. That way we can hopefully cover it once the Warriors game is done and really talk about the series a little bit more. But before we do that, since we've already gone through MLB, let's go ahead and jump into some of the subjects we wanted to discuss in the NFL. Um, First off, we're gonna make fun of something here because we have no choice. Brian, so Michael Vick and Terrell Owens and Johnny Manziel are playing football? Can you tell me,
They
enlighten me?
playing football, y'all. They playing football. There is a bougie ass league called the Fan Controlled League where fans call the plays. This dude by the Bay
Oh my God.
Bob Menery runs this league here, and basically people control it through the app or some shit like that. I don't know. And first he got Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel was his first big draw to that lead there, and then he got Flash Gordon. What was his name? Played for the Niners and he ended up with the
Oh,
Seahawks.
Josh
Josh
Gordon, the
Gordon.
guy that couldn't stop getting caught with marijuana? Yeah.
Yeah, and so he ended up back in the NFL due to this fan controlled league, right? So this season he gets Terrell Owens to come and
Wow.
play. Dude, the field, maybe I think the field's like 30 or 40
Yeah, I've
yards. Like
seen
it
it.
looks, this shit looks like it's in a warehouse. Like there's no
There's
field.
walls. There's no out of bounds lines, just
There's
walls.
walls. There's a place for the stands for people to
All,
sit
all,
in.
all
It's not
five
like
of
it's a
them.
huge. It's I look at it this. It's the dumb version of arena football. If arena football could cut their field in half, this is what we're looking at right now.
It,
Um,
it,
and so he got Terrell Owens and Johnny Manziel, and then this was the last week of the season. Michael Vick goes out to play.
wow. I mean,
And
this is a
it's
joke. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, we've seen the XFL. The CFL has had some gravitas and has been around for a long time. uh, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the USFL, but I mean, I don't want. I mean, come on, they need to drag Ice Cube out there and just do a big three like the NBA does. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what this is an attempt to do. Nobody's gonna watch this stuff. You know, the NFL is a billions yearly
Yeah.
revenue league, and it's just you're just not gonna compete with them. And we've seen this happen over and over and over again. And I appreciate Mike Vick and Terrell Owens and all these big name guys coming out to play. But I'm not gonna go. I'm not really gonna watch them play in this old dark warehouse on a 30
Well,
yard field.
it's not on TV. I think it's all through an
Yeah,
app or
I don't
something.
know what like, but come on, man.
And so it's like, where am I watching this? Where am I watching this at right now? Apparently nowhere.
They might
So
as well start airing high school football games. They should that's what they should do. They should find every local station should start putting high school local teams on television, and then we can watch that. How about that? Do that. Why not? Right?
hey man, if you got a good football
Schools
high
need
school
money, don't they?
team like De La Salle,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Why not? I mean, if we're piddling around trying to do this crap with these 59-year-old wide receivers trying to find ways to pay their back child support, I don't. I'm not. I don't want to. Come on, man. To stop it.
You don't
Stop it.
want to
To
do it, huh?
stop it, man. Ever since you was doing push-ups in your own driveway, man, it's been downhill since then, man.
So what was your best memory of T.O.? Was it doing the push-ups in the driveway, or was it him crying at the podium going, "That's quarterback, man"?
Man, it had to be if it looks like a duck. If it looks like a duck. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
That's my favorite. That was so wrong, man. I mean, To man, he's a great wide receiver, man. But if you look at his body of work, he's never gonna be able to escape that just contentious attitude that he's had with just about every team that he's played on. And so I think then he comes back, like you said, years later, and there's my quarterback, like freaking Bobby Boucher or something, from Waterboy.
I said
That's
that's how the
my
water boy movie
mama.
I started.
No, come on, man. It,
Well, everyone, if you have everyone tuning in, if you've got a good TL memory, whether it's good or bad, drop it in there. You've heard ours. It's not like it's the greatest, but it's not like he was the greatest
not
either.
really.
He was a good receiver. He was not a great wide
He was
receiver.
a good, yes,
So,
I would agree with that. And he had some great moments. I will definitely say that, but consistency across the board as far as his career, wasn't necessarily there. And like I said, his
yeah.
reputation really followed him. So B, what's going on? Debo Samuel needs some support. What's happening here?
He's getting some support here. Supposedly, George Kittle reached out to him and said that the wide receiver was in good spirits about coming back to the 49ers. Yet there is no
Where's
contract
my money,
discussion
man?
with his black ass.
Where's my money?
There is no money coming out of the Niner pocket to bring this guy back. So, for real, training camp starts in a month and a half. Y'all need to get this figured out now.
I mean,
You got so many issues. I would just keep banging on this drum until the Niners figure something out. But the bottom line is you've got two problems going into this offseason. You don't know who your quarterback is. You have a wide receiver who doesn't want to be there. And if he signs his contract, what are you going to get out of him? On top of that, if you wanted to guarantee him he was not a running back no more, you would have went out and got yourself a running
right.
back. Plain and simple.
So
So
what's the deal, man? Because I mean, is George Kittle gonna share some of his money, or what are we doing? You know?
well, that's a lot of that money went to
Yeah.
George Kittle.
Right. Exactly.
But the Niners have money. We all know this. The Niners have money. But you got two players, franchise players, that you need to figure out who gets that money. Are you going to invest it in an offensive player, or are you going to invest it in a defensive player?
Yeah.
And here is the same debate. What will win you that championship that you're alluding here? Are you going to pay money for a defensive player who, again, has earned it money? Nick
Yeah.
Bosa earned that paycheck. Or do you give it to Debo, who is your best offensive weapon? Does he get that money? You ain't splitting money. Those two ain't going, hey, you know what, Niners, take that money, split it in half.
Nope.
We'll play for cheap. Debo's not playing for cheap no more. He's getting his ass handed to him out on that field, and he still goes out there to deliver. So you need to pay him. In my eyes, that money goes to Debo.
Yeah.
It has to go to
I
Debo. You do not find great offensive players like that in this league
Yeah, I believe you.
anymore.
I think you're looking at a player who is like the one, the great Marshall Falk, who could catch the ball out of the backfield, who was more of a running back, but could also he could sub in as a receiver. And there aren't very many guys in
Yeah,
the league anymore at all that can do that. And on top of that, the 49ers defense has been pretty stout for some time now. That hasn't been the issue. The issue has been being able to score points when you need to score points. And I still think that they're not in a position to lose offensive players because with Garoppolo being up and down and Trey Lance not really being able to contribute anything, the last thing you want to do is start giving away or losing offensive weapons. Because you could be the greatest defensive team on the earth, but if your defense is on the field, 60% of the time, then eventually they're going to wear down and you are going to lose that game. So, they need to find a way to put points on the board, and this guy has been the most lethal offensive player that they've had, especially with folks knowing now that George Kittle is in the limelight, he can't hide anymore. So teams are covering him. So Samuel has been
yeah,
able to benefit from that.
absolutely here. And so, yeah, I believe his money strongly needs to go
Get that
to
money.
Debo. Yeah, absolutely here. Because I'd much rather have a strong offensive presence. Again, the defense hasn't been too bad. Now, I think they need some secondary help back there, but other than that, their defense has been amazing here.
Yeah.
So they got to get something
Yep.
figured out here. But I hate to cut subjects here for you, but we've got a final in Warriors with a commanding 3-0 lead in this series with a 109-100. Dubsky eating it up against the Mavs here. The Mavs made a late push in the fourth quarter here to try to make something of this game, when realistically this shit was ugly from the get-go for them. Like,
Yeah.
I think for both teams it's
Yeah.
pretty ugly, but the Warriors, again, for the Warriors, it's all about patience. They're not looking to try to beat you in the first quarter. They're just looking to sustain and then turn it on late like they normally do
Playing
here.
a lot of possum.
Pretty much here, Klay Thompson was just hitting everything but the fucking net today. He had a bad shooting night today. Klay Thompson was 6 of 18 from the field, 3 of 10 from 3. He was perfect
Your
from
boy.
the line,
Your boy.
but 19. But let me
Your
talk about my boy
boy.
here, and it's not people. Andrew Wiggins is balling out, and you guys don't give him the respect that he deserves. I swear to God, the next person that compares him to Jonathan Kuminga will get absolutely slapped into next year. I promise you that. Stop it. That's
That's
disrespectful.
kind of disrespectful. I was thinking Black
Disrespectful.
Falcon. I wasn't thinking Kaminga.
Let me read you this boy's stat line here and tell me he hasn't been consistent since the playoffs have started here. He's not been putting up big numbers, but you guys are not looking at the right things that he's doing here. He played 40 minutes tonight, was 11 of 20 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. I could give two shits less. You have the two best three-point shooters on the team, 4 or 5 from the line. But check this out. 6 offensive rebounds, 5 defensive rebounds to give him 11 rebounds with 3 assists, 4 personal fouls. He was a plus 22 from the court and dropped a 27 spot. That is consistent. He has been around 18 and 10 this entire postseason, but he showed up and showed out. When the Warriors have needed big buckets in game 2 the other night, his 3 gave them the lead, and the Warriors never looked back. In game 4 against Memphis, his 3-pointer gave him the lead, and they never looked back. In game 6 against Memphis, he was consistent. This man has been getting the worst treatment for no reason. They're like, oh, he was an all-star. He was an all-star. Well, yeah, but he's never been an all-star. So what we got was that performance there was top Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
He's new to this playoff thing.
I mean, he's been king potential most of his career. I mean, but I think on your team playing as a role player is a perfect spot for him because the pressure's not on him. So he's just kind of filling a role. So that's what he's doing, and kudos to him.
He knows when to get to. He knows when the Warriors need a bucket, though. I'm not saying he is Kevin Durant, but he is not going to settle for a three. When he gets that mismatch, dude, it is game over inside of that paint. Andrew Wiggins has got
Oh
hops.
yeah,
That boy can
always
up
have.
and everyone here. And this is the perfect matchup for him, and he's thriving again. It just warms my heart to see that. I've enjoyed Andrew Wiggins since he's been a Warrior. He's brought a lot of his game has gotten so much better because, like you said, he's not the guy anymore. You're just a role player. But that's a damn good role player if I could ever have
I
one
agree.
who's going to get me 10. And then when he gets you the 27, like he gets you tonight, to help out with, because that 27 should have belonged to Clay.
Yeah,
It should have belonged to Jordan.
yeah,
But you didn't get that from them tonight. You got it from Andrew Wiggins. On top of that, is playing lights out defense on Luka, and so you got to give him credit for it. I saw this earlier in the game when Luka was on Wiggins and they tried to switch him, but that switch led him to Klay Thompson.
yeah,
How awesome
yeah,
is that as a Warrior fan to see that? There's no mismatch down there. Your best defender, you have two best defenders now in Klay and in Andrew Wiggins. So teams can't really get into this whole switch defender thing because you're not really getting a weak defender on that roster. Don't even talk about Curry. That boy's defense has gotten so much better. I give him so
yeah.
much
No, I
credit for
mean,
that,
I
and he
mean,
doesn't.
no, nobody. Let's be real. Nobody's looking to Curry to defend anybody. Come on now. I mean, he's
Oh,
gotten better, but he's not. That's not his job. That's not his job on y'all's team.
but
His job is to be Steph Curry, which is shooting threes from his mama house, and wherever. And that's his job. His job is not to defend people, and that's why teams kind of pick on him. Especially in the playoffs, they try to get a switch to get to Curry. But like you said, if you
yeah,
got the advantage is two guys of similar size between Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins, who both play at that sort of 6'7" height and have some athleticism and some offensive skill. Of course, more offensive skill when we're talking about Klay Thompson as a shooter, of course. But let's not forget
yes,
Andrew Wiggins at one time was an all-star player and is capable of putting points on the board too, and is much more athletic than just about every other player on the Warriors roster, outside of GP2, who's not playing, who's hurt. So I think that's what you need. It's a good combination of it rings of old Don Nelson basketball, to have
yes, it
to
does.
have
Yes,
to
it does.
have 4 or 5, 6, 7, 6, 9 guys out there in one guard. And that's a lot of what Don Nelson used to do with Steve Nash and Jason Kidd. Is really just, you don't need a center. You just have guys out there that can play two way guys of that height, and you're asking them to rebound and defend and use your speed as the advantage. So yeah, so kudos to Andrew Wiggins for stepping his game up, and hopefully he can continue this and earn the money that he's been paid because he's on a nice little salary. And
I hit. He getting paid a nice little salary. I'm not gonna.
he's making some money, y'all. Yeah, I know you ain't looked at his contract lately, but he's getting paid. But
You
yeah, I
know,
think that's kudos to Wiggins. It's been a long time coming. If he's able to win a championship, then that's a highlight for a guy who really had a career that was going nowhere prior to being traded to the Warriors.
yeah, absolutely. And here's the biggest thing for the Warriors here is they talked about it. There was no center because the Warriors were hoping on Andrew or Wiseman to come back, and obviously that didn't pan out. So you were just left with Kevon Looney as your center there.
Hey,
But since Denver series, the Warriors have out rebounded their last two opponents by more than 10 rebounds. And again tonight, the Warriors had 47 rebounds as a team compared to 33 from the Dallas Mavericks here. Say what you want to say, that is a team effort in rebounding there. Kevon Looney, again, it is just blossoming into this role
yeah,
here.
garbage
Um,
man.
he's been he's been around for two
Yeah,
titles. Like he's been around this team for a long time. So when you talk about the Warriors and you talk about Steph, Clay, and Draymond, you got to throw Kevon Looney into that conversation here. He's earned that respect from the media, from Warrior fans to be considered into that conversation. He's not going to get you. I mean, he had 20 points in game two. Was it game two?
yeah. I think it was game 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
against the Mavs,
But
the comeback
again,
game.
that's not. He gave us 18 more points than we were supposed to be getting from him. His role is to basically rebound and find the open shooter.
Yeah,
we got 18 points out of him. That was an absolute bonus there. So,
And
you
and
know,
if you look at the stats, I mean, the Warriors were not a 3 point assassin today. They were shooting blanks.
ooh, it was tonight.
They shot 34% from the field from three. Dallas shot worse, and took way more threes, which is ridiculous. I don't know why, but I guess that's what they feel like they have to do. But they shot a lot and they missed a lot. So you really gotta take a look at what the Warriors were able to do in the paint and what you just talked about, which was offensive rebounds and rebounds in general. That really helped them get to. That helped them win this game. And just looking at the stats again, points in the paint: Warriors 46, Mavericks 34. That's the game. That's it. Game over. Because if you look at the other stats, the Warriors didn't do anything special from three. They shot 46% from the field, which is not bad, but it's okay. Is okay. They on the offensive board they had 14 offensive rebounds versus the Mavericks 7, and the Warriors turned the ball over more than the Mavericks did. So that what you just talked about, and Kevon Looney and his impact on the game is one of the simplest things in basketball that is always overlooked, which is you have to rebound and secure the ball. And so if you can do that with regularity, especially when a team's missing as many shots as the Dallas Mavericks are, you're
Jesus
gonna
Christ,
win the
man.
game just based on rebounds. Just being able to rebound the ball, and secure the ball and create a possession for your team. So yeah, man, they they
Yep.
they got it done, and it's over.
Oh,
It's over.
it's over. If Dallas, I think the if the Warriors want to be really petty, and this will tie into everything else, they're gonna be real petty. They're gonna basically cakewalk through Game 4. They're gonna bring this back to Game
Back to
5 at
Oracle,
Oregon.
yeah,
They're gonna make Charles Barkley
or
eat
back
his
to
words.
Chase.
I don't
Excuse
know
me,
if
back to
no,
Chase
no,
Center.
go back. I'm sorry,
Chase
Chase.
Center.
Chase, but the Chase Center had took a new life. Remember when I told you they were missing something, and it was the yellow shirts, and they brought it
Okay,
back.
yeah. I know what you're talking
And, and fans are wearing the
about.
T-shirts. You can't see fans wearing a black T-shirt. Like that was one of the worst publicity or PRs things that they've done recently here. But they brought a little bit of Oracle into the Chase Center, and that is okay. I think the Chase Center finally found its identity, and man, did it come alive in games 1 and 2. I'm telling you, man, when you see those yellow shirts from the '07 We Believe era to every playoff series they've been in, that is the most intimidating thing for fans or for the opposing team to walk into when it came to Oracle. And now when it came to Chase, man, that place was loud. And
Yeah.
boy, do they hate Charles Barkley. Me and you watch the Inside the NBA a lot, dude. And uh,
He's always got a lot to
I
say.
sent I sent you that video when Charles Barkley told a fan, "Hey, you better take it easy before I go to your house and fuck your mama." I that was classic there. Kudos to the Warrior fans for not taking that
Yeah, he's
personally.
just poking
You want
fun.
to you're just poking fun. You want to play games. This is what you're gonna get.
Exactly.
But even Charles Barkley said, "Man, the Warrior fans are jackasses, but they show
Right.
up." And you can't call a fan base a bunch of jackasses because you haven't been in that winning position.
Yeah.
We all seen what fan bases turn into after a championship. You as a Laker fan, I'm sure you've seen a handful of Laker fans that are like a little more ruthless after your team wins a few
Well, that's the way
titles.
it's gonna be.
It's just
Yeah, when you're on
yeah.
top of the world, you're on top of the world. That's how it is. I mean, as it Laker fans, look, it's all about winning championships. So this year is kind of like, please don't talk to me about my team because they suck. But yeah, when you win the championship, when you get to the mountaintop, and you come back that next season or a couple of seasons, whatever it is, you feel your team still has an opportunity to win a title. Then yeah, people are gonna show up. Everybody's gonna be in position, and all the fans are gonna show up, and all of that. So it's just kudos to all the Warriors fans. I know y'all picked up some extra fans over the past 5 or 6 years, but I still
Wow, I said we picked up a few extra fans. That's ridiculous.
just a few.
I've seen the bandwagon fans
Yeah.
come out of this.
Yes. I know, and what's funny for Lakers fans, I've seen a mix. It's actually been both ways. It's been Laker fans that do not like LeBron that have sort of backed off the team, and it's been LeBron fans who have jumped on the LA bandwagon. So fans are going to be a little fickle about certain things, but at the end of the day, man, the Warriors, especially at Oracle, were known for it being extremely loud. The only other group I can compare it to was the Sacramento Kings crowd with the cowbells back against those
I do.
2000 Lakers. That mess was ridiculous. I mean, everybody had a cowbell. You can't even bring that in the stadium anymore. I don't even know how they did it, but everybody had those damn cowbells going like this throughout the game with Lakers players at the free throw line. It was terrible. It was horrible. So yeah, but
Yeah,
hey, man, being a fan is all about making an impact, man. So if you're at the game, you got to make some noise.
you definitely do here. Now, let me ask you this here. When you have from Dallas' perspective here, because this series is about to end, but you had three players go over 20 points today, but your fourth best player had 9 points. Bullock had
Yeah,
0 points from the field. Powell, your center, only had three, and Burton's only had two. You're not winning anything when that happens.
it's
And
it's time to
so,
switch up the roster. They need to find better players to put around Luca, and they definitely need to find another big to play. It doesn't have to be a guy who's a center necessarily. I'm not saying they go after Gobert, but which they may end up doing. But I think they do need to find another player who can play at that 4 or 5 spot, and that can actually score the basketball. Because from what I see, their problem is they're trying to play 5 out basketball. They're trying to have everybody on the perimeter. Their big comes over and sets a screen either to get a mismatch for Luca or to get Luca a free run down the middle of the court. Luca's a great player. He's big enough to get into the paint, to make plays in the paint, and even more incredible, he's able to make great passes out of that position as well. However, that game that they're trying to play becomes much easier when the man that's setting a pick for Luca has the capability of diving into the lane and catching an alley oop,
mhm.
or being able to catch the ball in the mid or in the post, or catch the ball and pick and pop. And I think that's what they thought they were going to be able to get out of Kristaps Porzingis, but Porzingis just is not the same player he was when he first came into the league with New York. After the injury, he's been 50% of that, 60% of that guy. So if they could find a way to
I
get a big
agree.
name guy in there, if they could find a way to pull a guy that, I don't know who's on the market off the top of my head right now, but if they can go out and find even a guy oh man, I can't even think of the power forward that plays for the Pacers. I can't think of his name right now, but when I think of it, I will.
I know.
But but they
I know who
but
you.
there's some guys out there that they can get, but they really need to find a big who can occupy the lane for them, and not for it, so that it's not so easy to just bear in on top of Luca, and so that you don't have 5 players standing on the perimeter. I mean, they need 4 guys. They need somebody to occupy the paint because they can't rebound playing like that as we've seen thus far.
No.
They can't protect the rim, which we've also seen that. So they really need a guy that can help facilitate that, protect the rim protect the paint on defense, and give me some type of offensive output in the paint. That's it. So I think if they go and pursue someone like that, they'll be a better team. But for right now, it's just Luca and friends, and they've got a bunch of guys on the outside that can shoot threes. But as you know, you live and you die by that three, and so you got to have something else.
We know that feeling a little too far off here, but I mean, look, leading rebounder tonight was Luka Doncic. It was Luka
Yeah.
Doncic. 11 rebounds. Like you're not winning
Yeah.
games. You're not. You're putting all that pressure on Luka. Kudos to Jason Kidd though, for getting this team to the Western
Absolutely.
Conference Finals and going through Phoenix. But at the end of the day here, when you look at this roster and you look at the Warriors roster, they need another veteran with Luka to really push them over that edge there. And we're not talking about a bench player. You're looking for a starter that can counteract with Luka. Brunson had a great game, but outside of your two starters, no one went over 10 points
Right.
from the start. That started the game. That's a problem. It is a huge problem. For the Mavs here. The Warriors had 4 players from their starting lineup in double digits. That helps. That takes so much pressure off of your star player. So let's hope it comes back to Chase. Other than that, I think the next time the Warriors may play is in the NBA Finals,
Yep.
and I think they're hosting it. If I remember correctly, I think they have home court through the rest of the postseason now. They're,
I don't know. I don't
if
know
I
if they
remember,
have a better record than Miami. Miami's number one seed. I'd have to look to see if they had a
yes,
better record than the Celtics.
yeah.
So
So
I don't know.
you know,
They might play. They might be playing
that's
on the
it's
road, man. But either way, it's
it
gonna be
don't
a good
matter.
series.
It
That's all I want is a good series.
actually no. The Miami Heat had 53
Oh,
wins.
really?
It's,
Are you sure?
the Warriors and Heat had the same record, and the Warriors own the
Oh,
tiebreaker.
okay, got it.
So yeah, so even if Boston advances, they only had 51 wins in the regular season. So the Warriors are in a prime position to bring home another championship here. Like it couldn't have worked out any better here. And I don't want to hear anybody going, "Oh well, Memphis didn't have Jaw. You know, Phoenix was playing with hurt guys." No, there's no excuses when it comes to the postseason.
Yeah, you gotta win.
There's no more. You gotta win. You gotta find a
Yep.
way, and they're finding a way to do it in and out there. So
All right.
let's go.
Right. So let's move over to. We're gonna stick in the NBA, but let's move over to a couple other topics that are out there. Some craziness within the news. And actually, this story has been out for a while, and we're just kind of getting more information about the situation with Brittany Griner. So I know Brittany Griner was detained in Russia, and you know, probably not the best time to be in Russia right now. Just.
There should be no reason you need to rush right
But
now.
as B enlightened me earlier today, she was there because she was playing for a international team there. So oddly enough, B, can you give me some more information on what's going on with this? So she was detained for having some weed oil. She's gonna fry
Which,
some bacon, you know, uh, and
yep,
apparently in Russia can't fry bacon in weed oil.
out of everything that Russia does over there when it comes to drinking, shooting guns in public, and driving at a high rate of speed, you figured this be like the last thing people need to worry about is some weed oil, especially when they got all this other shit going on over there too. We're not poking fun at the situation. This is just truthful facts here, and they're holding Brittany Griner to. She's been there for a long
Yeah,
time, sitting in a jail
yeah,
cell. And I've been reading this and following up on it, and someone mentioned that it's getting to the point is because of her image. It's not often you see a 7-foot woman with dreads, tattoos, plays professional sports being detained like this. In fact, I don't think you hear it that often.
yeah.
Someone had the nerve to make a comment that if this was an NBA player, this wouldn't be happening. And they compared Kevin Love to this situation.
Kevin Love.
They compared
What
Kevin Love.
what does he have to?
If Kevin Love was getting stuck like this, that we wouldn't be in this
Well,
position.
I think there's a couple of things going on here. One is, you're in a country that doesn't necessarily play nice with the United States, and so that's the other
Yeah,
thing to keep in mind is that, you know, this could just be one of those old school. We're gonna stick it to you. That's just what it's gonna be. We don't like you that much, and this is one of your people, and so we're gonna hold on to him because we know we can. And I think that's really what it comes down to. It's a big name person. It's a story. It's just a way. It's just a way to kind of poke the bear. It's a way to kind of mess with us. But in all honesty, being detained overseas, no matter who you are, if you're not a citizen of that country, is not going to be a very nice situation. That's generally the case. If you're an American and you get in trouble overseas, something bad could happen to you. And so
yeah,
that's just what it is. I remember maybe a few years ago, there was a story about a kid who, I believe he got into some fight or something, and someone ended up getting killed, and he was accused of that, and he was overseas. Well, how are you going to defend him, right? The mother and parents want him to be released and all this. That's great, but at the end of the day, when you're in another country, the rules are different, and it's not you're not in the United States anymore, and just because you're a U.S. citizen, that doesn't mean you have the unilateral say over what happens anywhere else. So I think we should all keep that in mind. That Brittany Griner's in another country and isn't detained based on their laws and their rules and their regulations, not ours. So you kind of got to go with that. So rather it have been an NBA
Yep.
player, an NFL player, or whomever, um, you can't don't go to other countries committing crimes because you don't know what their laws are like. That's it's very simple in my mind. It's very simple. Weed out here, not a big deal. But you're not in your country anymore. You don't know what they're going to do or say. So you're really, for all you know, weed over there might mean 10 years in prison. But if you don't know that because you're not from the country, well, that's on you.
Yeah, it's completely it's interesting because now the NBA is working um with the White House as far as trying to get her back. And so I mean, at first you thought it was just going to be like a week or so she get out, but this has just been
Yeah.
months now. And she ain't she ain't left yet, and she doesn't look like she's leaving anytime soon. So, it's now becoming a little more of it's almost like a
Yeah.
hostage situation. Well, I wouldn't say hostage situation, but it's getting to that point where you're looking at it where you've got, like you said, we don't talk politics, but Russia don't like us so much.
Yeah.
And so if this is just me talking, if they're using this as their as a power move, they're using it. So,
Yeah.
but to ease off that there, to lead into some fun here,
From Russia.
um, real quick, I just want to shout out to the 6 people who are watching us. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe
Please.
button to the B&T Sports Talk Show. We enjoy having you guys on every single night as we do here. But let's talk about some other news here, which will lead us into our top five shortly here. Um, Nick Saban had the balls to tell Jim Fisher from Texas A&M that they pay for their players here. And boy, was I just in shock when someone of money has the audacity to call out somebody else with money and say you pay for your players there. Taj Mahal,
it's the
lead us off
it's
with
the
this here.
it's
No,
it's
want to
the
talk about
classic
it.
story of the teapot calling the kettle black. It's just so
Yes.
stupid. We all know that college players get some money on the back end. We all know that this happens with
Of
throughout.
course.
It's been happening throughout collegiate sports for a very long time now. And Nick Saban, of all people, who all of a sudden has got very butthurt in his old age, because he doesn't get the recruiting class he's used to. Now he's upset. He lost a player. There was a top recruit that went to Jackson State to go play with Deion Sanders. He wasn't very happy about that
Yes.
and made some comments
He
about
said
that.
some words about it too.
Yes,
Yes.
he did, and I'm not gonna get too deep in that because that wasn't our original story, but he basically put himself out there, making comments about HBCUs more or less. And then on this end, he's having this back and forth with Jimbo Fisher, about them paying recruits. Both Deion Sanders and Jimbo Fisher responded with had a similar response, which was, "Hey, bro, we know you not clean, so don't do that. Put the phone
We
down.
all know that.
Put the phone down.
So
Stop it. Stop it."
look, Alabama puts on their. I don't know if it's just Alabama or the SEC in general, but when there's an SEC graduate, they if they're a scholar athlete, they wear it on their chest. They give them a special patch for
Yeah.
this. It says SEC graduate, right? Alabama don't have too many of those fucking patches on their jerseys. I'm gonna put it like that, okay? I'm gonna leave it at that there too,
Oh
okay?
man.
I'm not, bro. Alabama's facility is damn near almost worth $1 billion, man. That shit, it makes other NFL stadiums facilities look like shit. There is so much money being pumped into that godforsaken school that Nick Saban coaches at that you're paying your players. Yeah, you were used to having the number one recruits left and right, but guess what? It ain't happening no more. I actually give credit to Deion Sanders for kind of paving this change here because as we talked about, I'm tired of seeing the same 4 teams in the college football national
Yeah.
playoffs here. But you're starting to see a diverse of or players go to different schools. They're not going to one specific school
Right.
anymore. Deion Sanders put that university on the map now, not only because of his personality, but the way he's conducting the culture there. And so Nick Saban is like, well, he was supposed to go to me. What am I going to do? I'm going to go badmouth him because he's never had this happen
Right.
to him
Exactly.
before. And now you accuse your former coach going, oh, he pays for his players when you're the most expensive coach in college football And you want to talk about paying
Yeah,
people? I don't to hear that shit. You are paying your players to go play there. Even if they're making money nowadays,
yeah,
bro. If they're making money, they're still getting paid.
right. Yeah,
They're still
and
paid.
it's just so silly, and I feel like this is just this is like old cantankerous man yelling at the sky, shaking fist at the sky kind of stuff. And I just think he needs to
How?
like yeah,
Like,
wow. He just needs to calm down, man. I think he's getting to the stage where he needs to do a Coach K, and it's time to retire. You know what I mean? I mean, because ultimately, no matter how great you are throughout the however long your career was, the youth is going to catch up to you, and then there's going to be a new way of doing things, and it's going to pass you by. And I think Nick Saban is going to start to see that over these next coming years. And his response right now is to be mad about it because he doesn't like it. But eventually, he's going to have to give into it and just be like, well, I'm just not going to get the top recruits all the time like I used to. I'm going to have to settle. I'm not going to be able to beat out these other schools where players don't mind. Hey, everybody's on television, right? So I don't have to necessarily
yeah,
go play for Alabama. As long as I'm a starter, that means more to me. It used to be a big deal about playing for the right coach, playing for a guy who's going to make you a man and all this garbage. He's a football coach who gets paid $10 million a year. That's no longer. That's no
yeah,
longer. That's no longer. That's not a thing anymore. You're not a father figure anymore for people. Okay, you're just a coach. So now as time moves on, I think that trend will continue, and you'll see kids go to different schools and pump up different schools, and then once schools like Texas A&M, who really Texas A&M has always had, because they've had some great players, but you look at
they've
Jackson
had-
State and other HBCUs that are starting to get more recruits going to their schools. Now they have a chance to be on TV. Now I don't have to go play for Alabama in order to get noticed. So kudos to the players, man. Every time we watch TV, every single coach in the nation is calling these guys men. But at the end of the day, they're not treating them that way. So let them pursue what they want to pursue, man, and let the chips fall where they may.
absolutely here. So stop crying over spilt milk, Nick
Yeah.
Saban. Just because other people beating you to this punch now, you've had your long dominant run
Yeah,
here. It's over now.
it's been
Let it
20
go.
years, dude. Give it up.
Where's some shots fired between those two, man? It was you ever see them grumpy old
Yeah.
men and they were arguing over this shit? That's exactly what that little exchange reminded me
Yeah.
of, where it got to the point where they told both of them just shut up, we'll handle this on the back end.
Exactly. Yeah, I saw Jimbo Fisher's interview and he's like, did he reach out to you? Yeah, he called me, but I'm never talking to him again. Like he's just like so mad.
I'll never go drink my
Yeah,
bourbon.
like he like he just stole his wife or shot his dog or something. It was crazy. Oh man.
Speaking of crazy talk, this is what we're gonna tailor towards the end of our show here. Patrick Beverly found a way to make
Oh
news
god.
in these
The
headlines
the,
here.
the, the evil gremlin strikes again.
The evil gremlin struck again. So Patrick Beverly cried on national television for winning a fucking playing game. Proceeded not to show up in the playoffs. Has bad beef with Chris Paul. Boy, does he
Oh,
hate
man.
Chris Paul with a passion, man. Did you see that when he was with the Clippers when he fucking shoved
Yeah,
Chris
I
Paul
remember.
into
Yeah,
into
Chris Paul was killing them. That's why he was destroying them
yeah,
on offense, and his only response was, "I'm gonna push him in the back." He was like,
yup.
"Ugh."
Chris Paul looked like a
Yeah,
Pez
he was.
dispenser the way
He
his
got a
hair
running
got
start
back, man.
and everything.
Yeah.
It was so stupid, and it's
So he gets on national television, all on ESPN, of course, and tells the world that Chris Paul sucks, that he is soft, that he is not good at defense, that we praise Chris Paul a little too much that he deserves here. And in my eyes, I'll just touch on it briefly. I think what Patrick Beverly did was just absolutely
yeah,
childish. There was no need to go on there and just absolutely bash the man on national television like that. You know, Chris Paul is one of the league's best
yeah.
players.
Best point guards.
He's been
He's
a
a Hall of Fame
consistent.
point guard.
He's been a consistent player through his entire NBA career here. You had nothing to do with it. Patrick Beverly brought up some shit back from the LeBron James basketball camp. that he torched Chris Paul. And it's
At a
like, well, you ain't
basketball
doing it
camp.
anymore, dog. At a basketball camp. That's where I was like, okay, this has got to come to an end, Pat. Like, it was funny at first.
Yeah,
Like, I actually got a good chuckle out of it, but then it got to the point where it's like, now you sound stupid. And when you sound stupid, get off the
yeah.
television right away here. And so, you know, what were your, with him being a Clipper and everything? I know that's something that you want to talk about. What does his comments really mean to you when he says shit like
Well, I
this?
mean, Pat Bev is just an annoying Chihuahua gremlin man who doesn't have anything better to do. So you have to understand, like, 50% of who Pat Beverly is what comes out of his mouth, okay? The other 50% is when he's playing basketball, which is mediocre. Let's just be honest. I mean, he's a fairly good defender and was a slightly better defender maybe earlier on, but at this stage in his career, he really is just a megaphone, and that's his job. His job is just to say stuff, talk loudly, and try to motivate his team and piss off the opposing team to really just play mind games with them. That's all he's doing. He's like PJ Tucker except with a microphone, you know. And the PJ Tucker is probably a little bit more hustle, but Pat Bev is more antics. And he'll do a lot of weird stuff when he's on the floor. He'll fling his arms and he'll end up elbowing somebody or injuring somebody or you know, he's not the guy to talk. If you want to talk to somebody about great players, you don't want to hear Patrick Beverley's comments because Patrick Beverley
No.
is not the guy. He's not the guy. You know, he's not he's never been the best defender. Marcus Smart just won the Defensive Player Award at the guard position, has been the only person to do so since Gary Payton. Pat Bev maybe has been on a couple of first team all defensive player, but he's only done it a couple of times. I mean, at
Yeah.
some point, guys just have to understand what their roles are. And when it comes to playing the game of basketball, Chris Paul is a Hall of Fame point guard. Patrick Beverley is a guy that you will not remember in 10 years. Let's just be real. I
Damn.
mean, we're talking about. No, I'm just being real. I'm just being real, man. In 10 years, you're not going to remember Patrick Beverley. Somebody's going to have to remind you of who he was. You know what I'm saying? Like we were talking earlier, and I think I brought up the name Doug Christie. I remember Doug Christie, but he's not a name that comes flying off of your mouth whenever you're thinking about great defensive players. Are I mean, he
Coaching
yeah, no, he I don't know if he's coaching now, but he does the I believe he's doing the is he doing the radio announcing for Sacramento? Or no, I think he is coaching. He might be coaching. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. But my point is these guys they go unseen, and all Pat Bev is trying to do is stay in the limelight. So ignore him. I mean, Chris Paul is right. No matter what you think about CP3 right now, CP3 is one of the best. He's a Hall of Fame point guard. Okay, and he's going to go down as probably the best point guard and the only pure point guard left in the entire league at this point, because we don't have pure point guards anymore. He's the last of a dying breed. Him and Rajon Rondo and whoever else I guess you want to try to throw out there. Lonzo Ball kind of is a pure point guard, you know, but he's the last of a dying breed. So kudos. I don't like CP3 either. He gets on my nerves with his slopping and stuff. But I am not going to let Patrick Beverley speak on it. He can't say nothing to nobody.
No. Oh, hell no. Doug Hughes, thank you for joining us, man. Miss you, Uncle. Chrissy is a Kings assistant coach. That speaks volume why they're fucking records.
Yeah, don't put that on Doug. Doug.
Have fun with that, Mike Brown.
Doug was a solid defensive player. He was just playing against Kobe. What was he supposed to do? I mean, come on. Go ask anybody about Kobe. You go ask him, Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, Tony Allen, what's his name? Raja Bell. You could ask any of these great defenders, and when they play against great players, you're gonna get toasted. That's just what it is. Patrick Beverley is not one of those guys. Those guys I just mentioned are better than Patrick Beverley.
There's half the league is better than Patrick Beverley. Remember when Tony Allen used to think he was an all-world defender for 1 year?
Yeah.
And made it known And then again, yeah, no one brings up his name because you're Mr. Irrelevant, as we like to
Yeah,
put it.
yeah. So it's
Uh,
called the it was second the second Lakers champion, the Lakers Celtics finals, where Kobe where that team played up against the Celtics and won in 7 games, and that's what it was. Oh,
yeah.
it's all about winning. That's what it comes down to. If you're a winner, you're remembered. If you're not, you're not. Just enjoy your championship and walk away if that's what you were able to do. But I'm not asking Pat Beverly about the best players in the league. There's another one. Thank you, Jerome. Bruce Bowen. That's another guy. Great defender. Catch
Nobody
catch
got
catch
him though.
50. Catch 50. So that's what I mean. It's like these guys, and I'm not trying to be rude, but these guys, they disappear. So whatever. Get out of here. Come on.
Well, speaking of guys who disappear, we're gonna end the night again. We have another top five here, but we're changing it
I
up
got more than
tonight.
5, but I'm sorry. But let's go.
No, I see your list. Good God, top five annoying NBA players. Now this could be annoying, irritating, whatever you want to call them. There, annoying players in NBA history to our eyes here. So if you've got some players that may not hit our list, come on, man. I see you typing right now.
You saw that, did you? You like that?
Yeah, I see that there. I'm gonna let you go first here. Anyone in the chat, if you got any players that we don't mention, if you want to throw in there why they bug you the most, this is why these players bug us the most here. So Taj, go ahead and get started.
All right, so I'm gonna. It's not in any particular order. I'm just gonna reel them off. So I'm gonna start with PJ Tucker. So PJ Tucker is a great hustle guy, but he gets on my nerves because he's one of those guys that looks like his butt's on fire. He's flying all over the place. He's falling down all the time. And the guy makes 1-3 and starts dancing. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like, you have no offensive skill whatsoever, and you make 1-3, and now you want to dance. And then on the next play, you come back and brick a layup or something. It's like, if that's all you're gonna do, I prefer you just shut up or make your shot and kind of walk away. And I can see why you want to celebrate. You don't make a lot of shots. That's nice. And but PJ Tucker just kind of gets on my nerves because, and I'll give him credit. He's a very active player. He was a great player for the Milwaukee Bucks, and he can knock down a corner three every once in a while. But he's just one of those guys that really just tries to kill you with activity that doesn't necessarily need to be there. And this brings me back to what we were talking about earlier about defenders, and I really miss Kobe, man. And the reason I miss players like Kobe Bryant is because these type of players can get in the heads of these new booty guys. They could get on a Tatum and all of this activeness and moving around and, flopping all over the place. And that gets them off their game. When my man Kobe was playing the game, he would turn these dudes into barbecue chicken because he would use their activity against them. Kobe would go head to head with Ron Artest. Did it a couple of times in the playoffs. And would use he would rather that defender was strong or he was just active. He was smart enough to use whatever their strength was against them. You know what I'm saying? And against active players like that, Tatum need to go back and watch the tape. PJ Tucker is harassing you off the ball. What you need to do is you need to ask your teammates to set you a pick so that you could get to one spot on the floor. Hold that spot with your back to the basket. An active player cannot run through you to get to the ball. Once you have him one-on-one in that spot, now you can do what you want to do. But if you play the activity game and you're trying to run away from him and run through him and he's pushing you, you playing his game, homie. You got to switch it up. They need to teach these young ball players, man. It's not activity. It's up here. That's how you kill dudes. So, and same thing goes for Patrick Beverly. But Pete, now that I've given you a hardcore lesson on how to play offense one-on-one, I'm going to move on to the next player. So
my God, this thing's gonna get you fired up. You still got a
whole
list to get through,
I'm telling you, man, it's beautiful. Now we're going to talk about a player I actually like, but I hate at the same time, and that's Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett get on my damn nerves. I mean, the dude is talking the whole game. I mean, he's just like, blah, blah, blah. I don't even know what he's saying. But he's talking to his own players. He's talking to Big Baby Davis, got him crying. He's on the floor talking to the opposing team's player, talking to referees. And then at the same time while he's talking, he's jumping up in the air, hitting the ball out of the basket after the whistle blows on every single possession. I'm like, KG, bro, like, just calm down just a little bit. And it was just it's the most annoying thing because as a Laker fan, we played against that Minnesota team with him, Damon Stoudemire, and I forget who else was on that team for a number of years. And dude is annoying, and he got way more annoying when he's with the Celtics. All of a sudden, he was like Mr. Celtic Pride. Like, bro, you only been there for like 3 years, man. Calm down, calm down. You played in Minnesota. Like, stop it.
They retired his jersey
Yeah, I know,
too.
man. That's bullshit. That's garbage. He ain't no. He ain't no. Come on now, get out of here with that. But anyway, so yeah, he get on my nerves, and now, even though I just got done giving him props, Chris Paul. Chris Paul. So
You
Chris Chris
motherfucker.
Paul is the pigeon master. You know how pigeons walk, right? They
Yeah,
go
no,
like this.
yeah.
That's how Chris Paul play. You know what I'm talking about. The moment you touch his shoulder, what does he do? He goes like that. Throws his hands up like that. I mean, it is the most annoying thing I've seen in basketball. Sometimes a guy barely touches him and he does that. And he's one of the most manipulative players in the game of basketball.
And the worst is when someone does it to him and
Oh,
he gets
he's
called for a foul,
mad.
he's pissed.
I
It's
mean,
like you do that to everyone else in the league right now. Come on.
yes.
Come
And Chris
on.
Paul will punch you. He will punch you in the nuts. He will punch you. He's
Well,
just
yeah.
that guy. And so yeah, he's annoying just because he draws a lot of fouls, although not as much anymore because refs are a little bit up on it. But that head flop crap is just is so annoying. It's like they need to get that out of the game of basketball. And now I'm gonna get into. I only got two more, and then I'm gonna give it over. I gotta go to James Harden. So James, same reason Chris Paul, and maybe this is who he learned it from, but the antics with the swinging of the arm up with both hands. We all know, B, that when you go to take a shot, you're not doing this. You're not know you see both my. You're not doing this. This is not
I thought
shooting.
that was the reverse dunk. I thought that was a reverse
Well,
dunk.
not if you're facing the basket. No, with the. I mean,
Oh, did he?
what would you say?
Rick Barry shot like
Yeah,
that.
I guess you're right. But yeah, Harden is the king of that, man. Just he goes into as soon as he gets in the paint, he goes like this with both hands. Ball goes flying out of bounds and foul. And that's just because he understands that at the moment that you get on the shoulder of the offensive player, that they've made contact with you. So if you feel the moment you feel the contact, you just throw your hands up, and at that point, the refs will probably call it a foul. Now they're not doing it as much anymore. And he also used to do the hook thing too, where he would actually bring his hands underneath the defender's arm and throw same thing, put his hands straight up in the air. So again, I just don't like when people try to trick the game of play game or trickery within the game of basketball. I prefer you just play the game the right way. I guess we'll call it whatever. And last but not least, the clown of clowns, Draymond Green. Draymond Green.
Love to hate
Draymond
your team,
Green
but man,
is the most boisterous, just, I mean, upset at every call that ever came his way. Can't shoot a lick. Has played in the league for 1,000 years and still can't get a 5-foot hook to drop. And he just has more to say than anybody else on the court. I mean, thank goodness for Steph Curry and friends, because this dude get on. And then of course there are a lot of Warriors fans watching, so you're gonna love the guy, and I understand that. But from outside looking in, he's an extremely annoying player. And he's the guy that's gonna argue every single call and then kick Steven Adams in the nuts. He's the guy that's going to get so upset that he thought he got fouled, right? And talk so much mess to the refs, more mess than most folks can get away with these days, talking to the refs, and then turn around and slap the ball with one hand, slap the other guy with the left hand, grab his jersey and throw him to the ground on the next play. And it's just like, Draymond, like, dude, just like calm down just a little. I'm not saying you can still yell, that's fine, everybody yells at refs. But some of the excessive fouls and then to follow it up with zero offensive capability it's annoying. It's extremely annoying.
Yo, did you hear what Charles Barkley told him in
What he
game two?
said.
But when they were doing the pregame, he goes, "Hey Draymond, why are you shooting shots? You know you don't shoot during the game."
Oh, exactly. Got so much to say
I
though.
had to laugh.
I mean, you just
I had
talking.
to. God
Just
damn.
talking, but be 5 feet from the rim and throw the ball over the backboard. I'm like, Draymond, man, come on, bro. Come on, man. Stop it. Stop it. But anyway,
Now let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this: if he's wearing Laker colors, is the feeling the same?
no, if he's Lakers color, I love him. Because then he's playing defense for us and he's helping set up our offense. Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not stupid. I'm
So I'm
not.
saying,
What do you think? How do you think I felt when Ron Artest came to our team? I mean, remember Ron Artest? It wasn't that long ago that Ron Artest was playing for the Rockets against the Lakers in the, I believe it was the second round of the
yeah.
playoffs. And then later on, now he's on our team. You think I was like, oh, Ron, I hate that? No, I was like, cool, let's do it, Ron. Go stick him, go get him. Now it was later stages in his career, so he wasn't the same player. But it was
I was
great having Ron on our team. I loved having Ron Artest on the Lakers.
Doug Hughes agrees with you about Draymond Green. I knew he would too. Don't hate Doug. Don't hate because he's on your not on your team. Obviously, I'm going to defend him
Of
because he's on my
course.
team. So,
All right, B.
but I
I've
mean,
rambled on for so long. Go ahead, man. My bad.
I switched mine up. I had Patrick Beverly on there, but man, I just had an image on my head in my head that just like was like, God, you're annoying. That's Sam Cassell.
Sam Cassell?
It wasn't so much his game; it was just the way he
Oh, his
looked.
face.
He
Oh
had a
yeah.
he had a forehead the
Yeah,
size of
Sam
the
has a weird
of
face.
two globes on top of one, and then when he smiled, it was like when a horse smiled, how his teeth would kind of protrude out.
Yeah.
And dude, he just looked stupid on the court, man. I don't know what it was. He just annoyed me every time I saw him, um, on the court. There, it just drove me nuts. Here, he just looked goofy. He looked like
Yeah,
an
he's a
alien.
Martian. Yeah, he
To
looked like
say
an absolute Martian,
when he
alien.
had a big ass note and nothing to fill it with. Um, Second one was Matthew
Oh, that's a good
Dellavedova.
one.
The fact that he stayed in this league for
Oh
so
my.
long for absolutely nothing. They called him the Curry stopper in the NBA Finals, and boy did Curry cross his ass
Oh,
up, and he took
Matthew
that shit
Dellavedova.
seriously. Um, that shit. Jerome called Sam Cassell
Yeah, he
ET.
looked like he was a weird looking dude. He was just an odd
That's a
looking guy.
one,
I mean, seriously.
dude. Matthew Dellavedova.
He
What?
was trash, man.
How did he get into the league,
Because
man?
Braun
Like
gave him a contract. That's why. I mean, he Matthew
that
Dellavedova
was
was the guy
bad.
who was like pretending to flop while fouling. You know, he was the guy who was pushing you and then stumbled backwards and fell to the ground. He was the worst, man. He's crap. It's garbage.
Bro, he had a boxing mouthpiece in the fucking for his mouth guard. Man. It was just like every time you looked at him, it was like, God, you don't look like an NBA player, but for God's sakes, you are. Good on
Terrible, man.
you. Uh, my next one is your
Oh,
Lakers, Sasha
what
Vujacic.
not practice.
Fuck, and that
That you,
fucker.
hey, we used to call
If,
him we called him, what do we call him? He was practice all-star, because he would light it up in
bro,
practice, but he couldn't do nothing in the game. Such Vuce is
bro,
trash, man.
his hair. It started with the hair and the headband. Like I could not stand it, but every time dude, he was like a gnat on the court. It was like a Patrick Beverly who couldn't. I mean, they both can't score, but when you saw Sasha Vujacic get on the court, it was like, oh my God. And then when he came to join the Warriors, I was just like,
You
oh,
guys made a mistake.
it's bad enough. It's bad enough we suck. Now we got to have him a part of our
Wasn't
team
he
here.
dating? Wasn't
Like,
he
God,
dating Maria Sharapova? I think he was dating Maria Sharapova.
is he dating Maria Sharapova? I don't. You know what? He's not even worth in my Google search engine. To be honest with you, I got.
Oh, I'll let you continue your list. I'll
Look,
look it up.
while you look, my fourth one here is Manu Ginobili,
Manu.
who Manu, who was a great offensive player, but man, that got overshadowed the way he flopped on the court here. Um, dude, he was that bench player that you just looked at and you were like, God. Again, these are just players I couldn't stand to look at on the court here. They just drove me nuts here. Manu Ginobili was a great left-handed shooter. Again, a guy who's getting into the Hall of Fame, but for under what
Yeah.
reason? Like the NBA needs to kind of make their requirements of getting into the Hall of Fame a little better. If I see Matthew Dellavedova get into the Hall of Fame, they should close it down. Plain and
Yeah.
simple there. Uh, my favorite, Doug Hughes. This is going to be your favorite one of all time here. Uh, Vlade Divac,
Lottie
the
Dottie.
king of the flop. Want to talk about floppers and one of the hairiest basketball players ever?
That's right.
Vlade Divac was the most annoying player. I know we left out a whole bunch of people on here, but man, looking at Vlade Divac, and he, one, unathletic, two, got manhandled by Shaq during the 2000 era, and now his ownership of the Kings, and we all see how that shit's
Yeah.
going. Uh,
He was the GM at one point, and that didn't go well either.
God, that was just fucking terrible, man. The
Oh,
Machine.
Jerome.
I got a sausage
Shout out Jordan
Jordan.
Farmar. Shout out Jordan Farmar, backup point guard for the Lakers. My dude. Kings flopper. Oh yeah, world's worst. Yes. Yes, it well he was
Yes,
the official that was how he defended Shaq, was flopping, man. That's all he had.
that's all he had. World's worst GM. Talking about he's doing you guys great. Absolutely phenomenal. Let's get rid of Buddy Hield. Um, let's run through coaches like we run through prostitutes on this team.
That
It's
was
getting pretty bad here. Mike Brown, over there, buddy.
Oh man.
Um, but to everyone, if did you confirm it? Did Sasha
Yes,
date
yes, he was
Maria?
engaged to Maria Sharapova, but they never got married.
Don't blame her. I bet you he had longer hair than she
Well, I
did.
guess once he started becoming a true loser, just didn't work out.
As Charles Barkley said, you wouldn't have all those kids if you were Shaq the plumber.
Oh man.
Man, I love Charles Barkley. Man, he speaks it as it
I hear
is.
that.
So the Warriors fans can light into him one more time, just one more
Oh
time.
man.
But I think that's pretty much it for us tonight here. Thanks everyone for tuning in and chatting with us here. We always greatly appreciate it here. Give us your top five in the comments of who you could not stand watching on the basketball court. Our predictions may this may be this. I thought this was going to be easy to predict, but just to recap, Taj, you got the Celtics in 7, Warriors in 6. I've got Celtics in 6, Warriors in 5, and Doug's got the same thing. I've got Celtics in 6, Warriors in 5. So
All right.
this may not. We may have a long break before we have to before we get back on the shows. The finals don't start until next week.
Yeah, we're gonna see how it goes these next few games.
Yep, here. So hopefully there's a Sunday they're doing it at the Chase Centers. Maybe I'll do my spot of the show right live over at the Chase Center. To find a way to set up over there.
Oh, that's right. Oh, we'll figure it out. I'll be here by myself.
Get kicked.
You'll be at the game on your phone trying to. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we will. But everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, like we say, subscribe, hit that like button for us. We appreciate all the love that you guys show us every Sunday night here, taking time out of your busy day to talk some sports with us and listen to us banter. So, Taj Mahal, you got anything else on Draymond before we take off, or PJ Tucker? Because those were the two you just could not
Oh
stand.
no, I think I said as much as I wanted to. They're both kind of similar type of player, except I give Draymond kudos for what he does on the court, but he just does it in a very annoying way. That's about it. All right,
All right,
everybody.
y'all. Well, y'all have a good night. We'll see you guys on
All
Sunday.
right. Have a good night, everyone.
Latest.